Not gonna drop it till 10.
Alrighty, there we go.
There we go. Here we go. Now we're
Alrighty,
live.
alrighty. Hello, 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 and welcome back to Book Nook Chat, Friday Night Chat with myself. I am Lori, and Miss Regina is also here with
Hi,
me.
everybody.
So, so tonight we are diving into Don't Let Her Go by Willow Rose. And I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was pretty intense myself. Just to give you kind of a little feel for the book, if you hadn't read it. Um, so this is a gripping psychological thriller that's full of secrets and lies and shocking twists. It's about as a young woman's life unravels and the truth behind her past and all of the secrets that kind of go along with that. Um, so that's the book we'll be talking about. Again, it's Don't Let Her Go by Willow Rose. So we'll just first start off with Regina, did you like the book?
Yes, yes, I did. But I've already decided I read my books too early
Yes.
in the month, and so
Yes.
then I forget what it's all about.
Okay. Regina, are you able to see the chat?
Hang on, hang on. Yep,
Okay, good.
nobody there.
That's okay. Um, so yeah, I really like I said, I liked the book. I thought it was very well written. It was a little hard in the beginning because it kind of does little flashbacks from the past to the present, kind of back and forth. And until those storylines merge together and you kind of get the broader picture of what's going on. So this book starts out with kind of an introduction in two different time settings. You have a little girl named Kitty um, who meets a police officer, and he starts bringing her gifts, little gifts, and she's 10 years old, and he brings her a Barbie doll and a couple Barbie dolls, and he's kind of like putting himself into her life. And this officer, whose name is Damon, is a friend of her father's. So she just keeps telling herself, "We're supposed to trust police officers," and he's a friend of my stepdad's. And so this officer Damien starts. Um, Building a friendship with this little girl named Kitty. And then we learn about Billy Ann, and she is a homicide detective that had just recently beat cancer. And she's going through some turmoil in her personal life with her husband. And she decides to she's got several children. She's got three children, and she ends up telling her husband that that her life or these feelings that she's had in her entire life, that she decides that she's not able to hide them anymore, and she tells him that she's gay and that she's been living this lie her whole life. So you got this kind of family turmoil of her and her husband and her children trying to figure out what direction that her life's going in. And so that's kind of just the beginning of the book of getting to know this little girl named Kitty and then this homicide detective that goes by the name of Billy Ann. And as that book progresses in the present time, um, we find out that there's a homicide that Billy Ann gets called to. And so unfortunately this homicide is of they find out is a young girl, and her name is Cassandra, and a jogger finds her in the community. This community is a small central community in Cocoa Beach in Florida. So, do you have anything to add to that, Regina, or?
No, it's just eerie where they found her
Yes, yes.
in the swamp.
Yes, well, this jogger finds her, and they call in the homicide detectives, and as that storyline is kind of progressing with that, there's another storyline with a woman by the name of Marissa, and she has a little girl, and she ends up going to this crime scene because her little girl Emma is missing out of her front yard. And she's kind of a weird person. They don't have anything. She's very afraid of people. Tells Emma she can't, go play. She needs to stay in the yard. She needs to stay in sight. So she oversees her daughter very, very closely, and she goes to do laundry and comes back, and Emma is missing out of the backyard. And so she's just terrified, and she starts looking for her. And she ends up going to this crime scene where they found this young girl because she wants to know if it's her daughter. Well, it turns out that it is not Emma, and it's this young girl named Cassandra. And so Billy Ann, the detective, and her partner, Big Tom, they are starting this investigation on trying to find out who this young girl is in the community. And so they end up going to the high school and find out that she is a high school student there. And they find out that her name is Cassandra. And they go and speak with her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Perez, to find out where she was at the time of that. And as they find that information out and head back to the station, come to find out Marissa goes to the police station and to report her daughter missing. And so the chief of police, um,
But they
Chief
don't believe her.
yeah, Chief Doyle does not believe her and feels that she's more of a psychiatric patient, that there really isn't any small child. There is no information on Marissa, there's no information on Emma. They just think that maybe this woman is having a psychological break. And so Billy Ann decides to go with permission from the chief to talk with her and go back to her house and see if she can figure out what is going on and if there is actually this little child named Emma. Well, in the process of her investigation at the home and having Marissa run through the events that led up to her daughter missing, because there's nothing in the home. There's no children's clothes, there's no toys, no pictures. There's nothing in this home that says a child was there. But when she's in the backyard, she finds a little pair of pink Crocs. And at that moment, she realizes, for whatever reason, why they're so hidden and hiding, that there is a missing child. So she ends up going back to her police chief. He still does not believe there's any child and pretty much tells her her career is on the line if she chooses to investigate this missing child along with this murder investigation. So it's pretty intense. So up and there's all this drama going on, and so that we learn that yes, there is possibly a missing child that's been missing for at least a day. And then this young girl who's also been murdered, and how do they connect? Because Billy's gut is telling her that there is something going on and these two things somehow are connected, but she really doesn't know for sure how they are connected. And so, just as you kind of get back into that, then you jump back into the past with to Kitty. And so, Kitty is continuing to um, be sought out by this officer Damon. He brought her another Barbie doll. He's starting to make visits to the home. He eventually picks her up and says, "Oh, your parents gave me permission to take you to Disney World, so you're going to spend the day with me." And Kitty's really starting to like Officer Damon and trust him. And, he takes her for ice cream, and, he buys her presents, and is just giving her all of this attention, and starts building this in her head that it's safe for her to be with him. Um, and then as we jump back into the present time, then we start getting more information. They find the girl's name is Cassandra, and that she was murdered, and that she was strangled with something by a belt or something with a big buckle on there. Um, and and then you have Billy and her partner trying to investigate leads as to her final moments. And as they continue to dive into that story, they find out she was actually this Emma's babysitter. And so that is the connection with the murder and the missing child Emma, is that this girl Cassandra was her babysitter. So what did you think about that when you found that out, Regina? The
Well,
connection.
yeah, I didn't really remember that uh, did that she was her babysitter.
Yes. Yes. And
Yeah,
so as she's investigating, she finds out the father has actually given her home to Marissa to live in. And at this point, Marissa kind of goes off the grid. She stops talking with police. She doesn't trust them. Hi, Miss Bell. We're glad you're here. Thank you
I
for
Miss
joining
Bell.
us. She doesn't trust her, and she's afraid of the cops. So um, the detective Billy, she's not getting any assistance at this point from Marissa, and she keeps trying to get contact with her, but she's just not helping at all. But she's continuing on with her investigation. And during that investigation of both the murder and the missing child Emma, she finds out that the father um, finally discloses that he had found Marissa hiding in a shed, giving birth to this Emma, and puts her up in this home because she doesn't have any place anywhere to go, and he knows that she is running and hiding from somebody, and he wants to give her protection. And so that's just a little bit more of Marissa's story that Billy finds out during the investigation.
Was that the neighbor?
The neighbor, it's not the neighbor, it's Cassandra's father, is owned that home that Marissa and Emma were living in. And as the story goes on, another murder takes place. And a man and a woman meet in a bar and kind of get to know each other, and end up going back. The woman ends up going back to this man's home, and spends the night there. They have a nice little one night stand. And she wakes up in the morning and goes in the bathroom and finds the man had been murdered in the bathroom. So she completely kind of freaks out, and she takes off. The police arrive, and they're trying to figure out who this woman is because she left her clothes and everything behind. The murdered man turns out to be a pediatrician, and his from his autopsy, it comes to find out that he was murdered with the same type of belt or belt buckle through strangulation as this young girl was. But they can't figure out any connection between Emma, Cassandra, other than she was her babysitter, and this pediatrician now. And it is Miss Bell. It is a really good. It is super super intense. It's one of those stories that you go, man, this all could have happened in real life. You know, this could be like a real crime case that we're reading about. With just kind of all the back and the forths and the twists and the turns and stuff. So so as that's unraveling with this new murder and them trying to find this woman, it drops back into the past. And so we learn more about Kitty. So Kitty ends up walking to the school bus, and Officer Damien pulls up alongside of her and tells her, "I did you hear that school had been canceled, and I'll give you a ride home." Well, Officer Damon does not take her home. He ends up kidnapping her and takes her back and puts her in a shed. You'd like to have it read to you while you're cleaning, Miss Bell? Yes. So at the when Kitty first met Officer Damien, she was about 10 or 11 years old. So he not sure how much time has passed by where he's trying to gain her trust. So she's at least 11 or 12 years old, and he puts her in a soundproof shed and begins to weave lies of, your parents didn't want you, and I love you, and I'm here to take care of you. But he keeps her in this shed. And so uh, we learn that she's been kidnapped, and then it goes right back to present day of them trying to find out now that they have these two murder victims. And it was just insane. What did you think about the kidnapping of Kitty? Did you see that coming in the book? I had red flags just going off my head from the very first encounter with Officer Damien. I was
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah.
yes,
He was a red flag all along,
yes, yes.
all along.
Yes, absolutely, Miss Bell. He was giving her dolls and going to the home with the parents, and then like taking her off on these side trips that I don't believe the parents knew about at all. He told her that they said it was okay, but I don't think they did. And just really kind of grooming her and
Well,
gaining her
they were
trust.
they were alcoholics and druggies.
Yes, yes, they weren't the best of parents. I think they loved her, but like you said, they were alcoholics and kind of doing their own thing. And I believe her stepfather was also an officer, and that's how he was friends with Officer Damien, is they were friends through the police department, and that was one of the reasons why Kitty trusted him because her stepdad told her to, you know. Um, There we go. I was just checking out my timers there. Didn't realize my Whip June garden party dropped there. That shouldn't be there. So yes, absolutely, he was grooming her, and just from the minute he showed up, like I said, all those warning bells in my head were going off, like, oh my gosh, this is a predator, and he definitely turns out to be a predator. Hush, Gracie. My puppy there is giving her commentary as well. Um, so as we learn a little bit about Kitty and what happens to her, and she's locked up in this soundproof shed. And as she's in there, he still it starts with grooming her. Oh, I love you, and you're such a pretty little girl, and you're my girl now, and you're not going back home, and you just need to be a good girl, and I'm going to take care of you. And he brings her hamburgers and eats dinner with her every night and lunch, and just cares for her. And then she starts having those old feelings. Oh, he's so good to me, and he's going to take care of me, and he does love me even though I'm locked in this shed, which is just like absolutely crazy. So, and then unfortunately, as we know, as time goes by and nobody finds her and she doesn't get to go home, and he starts building that relationship with her, um, that once she becomes of age, he becomes the worst predator of all. So, as you all know what that means, that kind of predator, who goes after children, and as well
And
as
he has a wife too.
he
This man
does.
has a wife.
Yes, that is truly even the sicker part is he has a wife. The wife knows that Kitty is there and comes in and comforts her, and just tells her everything's going to be okay, and they're going to take good care of her, and this is her life now, and that they wouldn't do anything to hurt her. So we kind of skip back to present day time with Billy leading this investigation. The chief of police is on her. You're wasting your time on looking for it. The police, um, chief police still does not believe that this child is missing, and she has to find some type of connection, um, with that this missing girl is real. And she finally does. She finally makes a connection through talking to Mr. Perez, and finds out that the uh, the office manager for the pediatrician tells her that um, he had records of pro bono work for kids that could not, whose parents could not afford health care. And come to find out, Emma, this pediatrician, took care of Emma, and but didn't have records in their database because she was a cash pay, basically he was providing under the counter care for kids in the community whose family couldn't um, pay for care. So you got that all going on in this now. So she does make the connection. She goes back to the police chief and says, "Hey, yes, we know for a fact there was an Emma. This pediatrician um, was her doctor and provided care for her under the table, even though that there's no records." Even with Marissa, she didn't have a driver's license. She didn't have a social security number. None of that. Um, and then of course Marissa's not cooperating with her anymore, trying to help her. So this book just gets so intense um, off the bat. So um, she's kind of making some connections, and then in her own personal life, her daughter's in trouble. Her daughter is sneaking off, um, and she decides to go back and
Well, they're scared for the high school kids
yes,
because of that girl getting killed.
yes, and knowing that there is basically like a serial killer out there that's killing people off for a certain purpose, and it's definitely the same purpose. So because of her, at this time we find out that um, Billy had came to this new police department in Cocoa Beach because of an incident that happened at her old station, and her partner had um, tried to sexually harass her and she turned him in. And so it just caused a big disgruntle in the police department. So she ended up leaving and moving to this new department. And so she ends up going back there because she remembers the case that she was working on was for this missing child, Kitty, that we have been hearing about in these little past, reliving the past episodes, that she was the investigator on this missing child, that they never did find what happened to her. And she ends up going back to talk to her old partner, and her the one that she accused of harassment, and finds out that he's in a wheelchair because he was a victim of a hit and run. And her stepfather had also committed suicide and had hung himself. They found him in the home that he had killed himself. And so as she starts putting this together, she figures out that Kitty is Marissa. She makes the connection through talking with her old partner who holds a grudge against her. Um, because of him losing his career and his job. He got fired and terminated from the police department over this sexual harassment. And then it starts really kind of making her think about her dad's suicide. Well, she goes back into those records and finds out and believes it's not a suicide, that he actually had the same marks on him that their two murder victims in town have. So now she doesn't believe her stepdaughter um, committed suicide. She thinks he had figured out something with the missing child with Kitty. And I'm sorry, I said I referred to him as Billy's father and mother, and it's not. It's Kitty's mother and father. She goes back to talk about that missing case with them, and kind of figures out that she feels. Kitty's father figured out who kidnapped her, and that's why he was murdered. And then they jump right back into the present again, and find out that there's another murder. The girl that they were looking for was murdered, and didn't they find her out in the swamp, Regina? The
That
young
was the first one was in the swamp.
Yeah, and
The,
I believe they
the
found
one of who was the lady they found in the hospital dead?
um oh, yes, that is it. That you are so correct. The young woman that had had the one night hookup with the um pediatrician, they found her and got her to a hospital. Um, and then she was murdered at the hospital, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
Um, before they could kind of figure out what was going on, she was end up murdered in the hospital. And then we also find out that Billy Ann's daughter, 16-year-old daughter, is so upset over her mother declaring her life choices, and her and her father are getting a divorce, and she's acting out. The father is acting out, and and they're worried about her because she disappears for a short period of time and comes home really late. And then she gets informed that there's this investigation, and she finds out that her daughter's pickup truck is linked to the hit and run on her ex partner who's in the wheelchair. So, besides these murders, Emma, who's missing, she also is now concerned that her daughter did the hit and run on her ex partner and could possibly be being arrested, and for that vehicular accident and leaving the scene of a crime. So there's just kind of like all this stuff going on. And then it jumps back to the past, and we're back with Kitty. A lot of time for Kitty has gone by. Kitty is pregnant, and all of a sudden now Damien is taking really good care of her, and letting her go outside to get sunshine and making sure she has the most wonderful care. And she ends up going into labor and giving birth to a little boy. I believe she names Oliver. Um, and she's taking care of him for 2 days, and then she wakes up and he's gone. And so Officer Damien took the baby from her and then doesn't go back to see her for a while. And she's grieving, and all she can do is blame herself that she did something wrong. I must have done something wrong. Um, I didn't birth the baby right. I didn't nurse him right. I was bad. And so he had to take my baby from me because I'm a bad person. And then as soon as she's healed up from that, he comes back again, and she ends up pregnant again after a certain amount of time goes by. And this time she's like, I'm not going to cry, I'm not going to do anything wrong. And he's going to see Damien, that that I'm good at this, and I'm going to have another baby, and everything's going to be fine, and I'm going to do it right this time. Well, she ends up having the baby, and she doesn't cry, she doesn't call for help, and he comes in and finds her with the baby, which I believe is another little girl. Well, he ends up taking that baby too. More guilt, more shame for her. Like I said, and this time he doesn't let her out of the shed at all, and just crushes her. I mean, this Damien is just the epitome of evil. What he does to this Kitty, aka Marissa, because we know by this time that they are one in the same person. Um, and but we're just learning more about the 14 years that had gone by until this Emma had is missing. She ends up getting pregnant again, and this time she decides that she's not going to go down with a fight, that she is not going to let her take this next baby. And so just before she gives birth, she finds a old rusty nail, and the wife comes to check on her, and she ends up stabbing the wife and getting away. That's how Kitty, or Marissa, ends up in this shed giving birth to this baby Emma that the neighbor finds, and he ends up um, putting her up in this home. And so now we kind of have the full story of Kitty and Marissa, their backstory. So Marissa is Kitty. It's so crazy to think about all of that happening. What did you think about when you heard about him taking her babies and then just getting her pregnant again
Yeah, they were keeping the babies as their children.
as their children, as him and his wife's children? She
Yeah,
was just the baby factory.
right.
And him being the father of all the children. But they never said, but obviously his wife, they couldn't have children, so he just went and kidnapped somebody so he could have children. So all this time she's been locked in this shed. He's raising her the children that he took from her, and raising them as his home, at him and his wife raising them as their own. I mean, that's just some crazy, crazy stuff going on, with all of that. Just totally couldn't believe that at all. Um, then we go back, and do you remember, after Billy kind of starts putting it together, um, and that Marissa, when she goes back to find Marissa, Marissa is actually missing now, too, or
Yeah,
Kitty
because
is missing.
okay, Marissa and Kitty are the same person.
Yes.
Okay, so Marissa went looking for her daughter, she's figured out what who might have taken her.
Yes.
So she went to find her daughter. Well, she got locked up in the shed with her
Yes.
sick daughter.
Yes.
Her little
Yes.
girl was sick. Well,
Because
that's
she figures out that Officer Damien is the one who took her daughter Emma, just like he took her as a child. He snatched up Emma as well. And so she goes back to the home, his home where she was being held captive, and breaks into the shed, finds Emma there, and they both get locked in the shed. So he now has her back and also has their daughter Emma locked up in this shed. Just crazy, just crazy to think about.
yeah. I'm sorry. I was trying to figure out how many more people died.
Yeah, so you've got the young girl in the water fountain. You've got the pediatrician, the young woman that he had the one night stand with. Then you have who she believes is the stepfather to Kitty. She believes he is part of this, and then you have her ex partner that was hit in the hit and run incident as well. But as she's putting the pieces together, and she heads back, the partner, she goes to talk to her husband about her daughter and her daughter being in this hit and run, and she realizes it wasn't the daughter, that it was her husband that ran him down as the hit and run, which was just crazy that he's the one that did it.
Well, he was getting revenge for what the man did to
Had
his
did
wife.
to her. Yes. Yes, and that's why he ran him over and tried to kill him, and she ends up turning him in to the police department, and so her husband ends up getting arrested for this attempted vehicular homicide that put this her ex-partner in the hospital. It's just crazy. But the whole time I'm sitting there as we get this far and I'm thinking, okay, Officer Damien, he's a cop. Is he a cop that works with her? Or, um, where is he at? Because this is 14 years later, and I just could not figure out at this point in the game. I was kind of thinking it was her partner, Tom, Big Tom, that was helping her investigate all of this stuff. I'm thinking, is this him? Was he the one that did this? I mean, there was nothing saying that he did.
Well, it in the chapter I'm looking at right now,
Yeah.
he Damon attacks uh, Billy Ann.
Yes. That happens just a little bit later, because after she goes back and she starts putting things together and she figures out that Kitty or Marissa was kidnapped by that this Emma, it's the same person. So she has all of this evidence. And so she goes to the chief's home. The chief is a widower. She goes to his home, and when she walks in the house, and she's talking to him, a little girl comes out and he sees her. He sees his children's pictures and all of this stuff. And we get the big reveal. Do you want to say the reveal, Regina?
Yeah, they kidnap Marissa. That chief does.
Yes. So Officer Damon is Chief Doyle. He was from that police station. She looks over to the sides and sees some an awards or diploma on the side, which has his full name as of Damian Doyle. And in that department, he was going by his middle name, or Damien was his middle name. And he ends up kidnapping her, Billy, the detective Billy, and puts her in the trunk of his car, and he and takes her out to the swamp, and he tells her, I told you, you to leave this alone. You should have left this alone, and you didn't. And he she gets him to confessing to um, killing his friend on the police force, which was Kitty's stepfather. He's like, he figured it out. I had to get rid of him. The girl, the teenager girl that he murdered in the beginning of the book, he had to kill her because he was just wiping away any evidence of anybody who knew any that they existed, that Kitty and Emma even existed at all. He just had to get them wiped completely out. So she takes him out into the swamp, which it kind of that's where our story leads us there.
Uh,
Gracie.
yeah. I'm sorry, I was reading.
Yeah, no, 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 no problem at all. So she ends up
Now,
getting
his wife, Tom's wife, couldn't believe it all
yes, yes, yeah, and they
because they didn't believe the chief could do that.
yes.
Tom's wife.
Yeah, when they found out, they all knew that the chief was a widower, and that it was reported or investigated that his wife was killed by a gang home invasion. Well, it wasn't a gang home invasion. It was Kitty. Kitty had stabbed her to get away from her confinement. Um, and Billy Ann, I mean, the daughter is sick, and they're still locked in this shed with no one being able to hear them or know that they're in there. But she is now out in the swamp, and he is trying to kill her. And she ends up getting away from him and gets to like this cabin out there in the swamp.
Well,
And
that's where Kitty's at, or Marissa.
and no, well, oh, they're at the cabin.
Yes,
I didn't catch that. I thought she was back at the house,
I
but she
thought
was
that.
in the cabin.
Well, that's why I thought that's why Billy Ann got in the swamp.
Well, she got in the swamp because he kidnapped her and put her in the trunk and took her to the swamp and was going to let the swamp take care of her. Because I mean, is just such uh he just planned for everything, and he just figured he could kill her and dump her in the swamp. But she ends up getting away from him, and she grew up in them swamps. And she's like, I know how to get out of here. I know where to go. And you're not going to be able to do this. But she ends up saving herself and ends up shooting him and killing the chief. And then they make it back and are able to rescue her and Emma, Marissa and Emma. And then Emma starts, or Kitty starts telling her story about everything that she went through, and she stayed there close to the house because she kept an eye on all of her other children as they go. But it was such an intense story. And um, when when she ended up killing the chief, he was wearing the belt and the belt buckle that was connected to all of the murders. So they knew without a doubt that he was the predator, that, he kidnapped Kitty as a child, held her prisoner for 14 years. Stole her children, and then just started killing everybody that was connected to her. It was
Right.
so intense.
The nurse and the
Yes.
doctor and the babysitter first, and
Yes. Yes. Just a crime spree to keep her. He did not want to let her go. He wanted to keep her, and and like I said, ending it up, thank goodness, with um with Billy, that she stuck with it. You know, he made his big mistake by giving her a free range and telling her, well, you better go see if you can figure out, because I don't even believe there's a real child, just lying the whole
Yeah,
time. And I believe I read that Marissa, when she was in the police station, she saw his picture on the wall as the acting police chief, and
that's why.
that's why she
That
took off and disappeared.
yeah, she disappeared on him
Yes. Yes. And that's the whole reason too, is because he was an officer. That's why she didn't trust them to begin with. That's why she had such a hard time even going to the police and reporting her daughter missing,
because he
because
was a
it was
policeman.
a policeman that had abducted her and held her prisoner for her whole childhood and young adult life.
Right.
Just crazy, just crazy, and it's so insane to think that those types of things happen. Um, you know, uh, there was one, I can't remember her name. They found her, and she had several children by her abductor too. Casey, can't think of her name, but yeah, just a crazy, crazy book. Lots of
Twist and turn.
suspense and twists and turns that just kept you on the edge. And I truly did not know it was the police chief until she figured it out standing it. When she figured it out, I had figured it out. It kept me on my toes for the whole the whole story. So, an amazing story, a good author. Willow Rose is the author. The name of this book is Don't Let Her Go. Um, Definitely a good book to read. I know we dropped the spoilers in here, but there's just so much to this story, that if you really like suspense and thrillers, this is definitely a good one to read. I have not looked to see if she has any more books or if there is a second book. If this is a series, most of these books are series. But if you're interested in this author, Willow Rose, this particular book is available on Kindle, through Kindle, Amazon Kindle, and it is one of their free books. So um, they have a lot of good books on there. I know, Regina, we haven't talked or decided yet what we're going to do for next month. So as soon as we get that
Well,
figured out, we will drop a post, and so that everybody can. I think, oh, no, we did talk about that, didn't we?
yeah.
Do you have the
Let
name
me
of that book?
hang on. Let me show it to you.
Okay.
I got to get it where I can show. We're going to be reading The Girl in the Hills by A.J. Rivers.
Awesome. AJ Rivers is so good. Me and Regina are addicted to one of her other series. What book are we on? Eight or nine in that series? The next book comes out in May.
Right.
So this particular book, the
This
girl in
one
the
is a, this one's a different series. This
It's
is
a it's
book
a
one.
yes, it's a totally different series, so we thought it would be fantastic to introduce all of you to AJ Rivers, because she is one of our favorite authors. And what is the name of the series that we're reading now? The Harley Quinn, g Girls in the Pines. Um, and so we are waiting on the next book that comes out in May to read that
Yeah,
one. But
this one's a different detective, and this is the first one of this
yes.
series.
Yes, it's not with Riley. Do you wanna give us a little brief of what that book is about?
This one,
Yes,
ooh,
you can read the back of the book if you'd like, or
okay, hang on. I don't know if I know how to do that. Do I?
I can look that up as well. But that's gonna be a good. She is a great author that if you like crime
How do you,
scenes,
how do you read the back of the book?
it should be in the front. There should be like a little prologue, or I can look it up. I
I
can
mean,
look.
I'm looking, but I don't. I meant to ask you this a long time ago because I never did see where you could do it.
Um, Let me look it up and I will tell you.
I mean, I got the cover and the title page.
Okay. I'll grab a little synopsis here.
Let's see.
The Girl
Oh,
in the Hills. There it is. Okay. So this book is a series. It is book one in the series. Um, Let me see. Here we go. Read more. What was supposed, it wasn't supposed to be that way. After a disastrous investigation ends with the death of her FBI partner, Sarah Cross, who's our detective, is banished from her high-profile position in Boston and sent to Tennessee. Feeling more broken and directionless than ever, Sarah moves to the sleepy countryside town of Silver Hill, where she sets up her quaint new office above a bakery. Exploring the town, she runs into Sheriff Tobias Kessel, making a note to avoid his southern drawl and charming demeanor. But when the sheriff's close friend is found dead from an overdose in his garage, she finds herself drawn to this case. Now forced to work with the sheriff, she finds there may be more to him than meets the eye. Soon the case takes unpredictable and shocking turns as the body count rises and a drug kingpin who escaped from New York appears in her office. Sarah faces a terrifying possibility. Could this be connected to the very case that landed her here in the first place? So this has strange connections, cruel twists, and fates. I lost my. There we go. Deadly Intentions, Silver Hill will never be the same. And like I said, AJ River, we are totally engrossed in her other series that we read and just love her. So I'm sure this book is going to be just as good. And I will put out a post and a little announcement for uh, May's book read, which is going to be The Girl in the Hills by A.J. Rivers. So we are going to. Do you have anything else you'd like to say or give any more thoughts on the book? Don't Let Her Go by Willow Rose,
no, but
Jen?
that next book will be good too, of that
Yes.
same author.
Yes, really hope everybody can join us and read in that one and join in the chat and in the conversation because she is such a good author. It is almost 8 o'clock here, Colorado time. So in an hour, we will be back on Grizzly or on Book Nook with our Friday night whip and chat. So we hope everybody can join us then for that as we visit and talk and stick a
That'll be
sip it and
10,
stick it.
11 o'clock Eastern,
Yeah,
10 Central, 9
mountain time.
Mountain Time.
Yes, so
We
we hope everybody will be able to join us for that. And so we will be back in about an hour and to see everybody then. Hope everybody is having a great evening. Continue reading books, happy reading, and we enjoy sharing our book reads with you because that's what we do. We like to read books together, and we invite all of you to join in what we like to read. So we'll see you in a bit. Bye.